So this is pretty wild. Even in the short time between David Hawkins' reverse CSI and John Cullen Investigates, our regular show here on Friday nights, there has been an eruption of absolute insanity. John, I am almost without words faced with the brazen criminality of the Joe Biden administration. How are you tonight?
Allegedly, I'm okay, and allegedly, you look fabulous.
Thank
You
you
look
very much.
great.
I think when you make commentary about your own personal state of mind and condition, it's not an allegation, it's testimony to your own current state of mind. But it's important that people remember neither John nor I are attorneys. And although we're going to be discussing some legal matters tonight, nothing that we say is legal advice. We're certainly not qualified to give legal advice. These are just our opinions about things that are happening that I think a lot of people are interested in and troubled by. Where would you like to begin today, John?
Well, certainly, we don't give investment advice like Tom Brady and
Oh,
everybody
they're getting
behind
sued.
FTX. Yeah. This is gonna get interesting. So yeah, I think as much as what that guy calls himself, what SBJ? What does he call it?
SBF.
SBF?
SBF.
SBS.
What is SBS?
Is it SBF? What does he call himself? What's his name?
Samuel
What's his real name?
Bankman Fried. SBF.
SBF instead of MBS. Okay. Well, as much as he is in the news and Larry David and Tom Brady all are wrapped up in this thing, which is kind of interesting as it implodes. Again, it's another example of poor judgment on the part of people who are frequently lecturing others, similar to what we saw with Madoff. Now, there's a big difference with the Madoff scenario in that the Madoff scenario was a complete fraud based
They're
on an
saying this is worse.
absolute. No. This was an exchange that imploded is different. This was not a fraudulent exchange. Now, they're saying that
Uh,
he borrowed $4 billion and he took out a $500 million loan and they bought him a house for so there's a whole bunch of
Sounds pretty
issues here.
fraudulent.
Well, no, that's not fraudulent. It's just an exchange and a bunch of kids running it decided that it's okay to
To
take a
steal?
$4 billion loan from the company
Yeah.
that they started. So, they figure, oh, that's okay, right? You can do that. So that's different from Madoff. Madoff's thing was entirely fraudulent. There were no trades. There were no assets. He just kept taking the money
Hmm.
and redistributing money, and all the records were fake.
Wow.
Everything about it was fake. Yeah. And many of the employees didn't realize it. That's how this was pretty sophisticated. This was
Unbelievable.
different. FTX is an implosion of an exchange, and that's different, right? The same thing could happen to similar companies, and that's what happens when you trust guys like that. But what we're going to talk about is MBS, and the reason is MBS has been in the news. You want to go to the first slide in the
Well,
deck that I
before
have
we
there?
do that, I
Yeah,
just wanted
yeah.
to, this is the big deal, and this is what I was talking about, is that the Department of Justice has been flexing its atrophied, girly man muscles today, and they've granted this immunity to Mohammed bin Salman, who is now the prime minister of Saudi Arabia, which I believe is a newly created position. I mean, the king of Saudi Arabia obviously can do basically whatever he wants in Saudi Arabia. But it's pretty weird, John, that the DOJ would give him immunity from a civil case. And I mean, again, we're not lawyers, so we don't necessarily have answers to these questions so much as we have questions to ask, right?
No, yeah, I mean, certainly there's no way to have any answers here. So that's pretty much all we do is ask uncomfortable questions. So that's where we begin. It seems that the Biden administration, here's a story from Breitbart, has requested immunity for Crown Prince MBS in the case of Khashoggi. And as I was digging into this, it appears that this was something that was important to MBS. and he requested it. Biden said no. Then, while Biden was visiting Saudi Arabia, he mentioned Khashoggi in one
Who
of
did?
his
Biden or
Biden. Biden brought it up, and that really aggravated MBS. And MBS subsequently cut back on production, and the price of oil went up as a result. Now, if you go to the next slide I think is the one you were just showing a second ago, which is from the BBC. And this is Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi leader, given immunity over the Khashoggi killing. Now, the thing that I've been commenting on since Khashoggi died, Jamal Khashoggi, by the way, was killed the same day that I was divorced.
Coincidence?
Possibly.
I think it's a coincidence. I don't think your ex-wife had anything to do with the murder.
Can't imagine. I can't imagine. But
She
it was
is
the same
sinister.
day. Indeed. Indeed. So the same day that I got divorced from ex-wife number 2, he was chopped into pieces. And it seems that no one in the journalistic community was curious about why would MBS do something like that? Why would you send a hit team to Turkey, to the embassy in Turkey, to do something like this and ostensibly film it? Why would you do that? Nobody was curious about that. In other words, it seemed like a rather extreme measure, right? I mean, did Jamal Khashoggi push him? Did he shove him in the chest at an event and therefore we're going to cut him up? I mean, what did he do that was so egregious that he would be dismembered, allegedly dismembered?
I think
nobody seemed curious.
Had a video of the Julianning. I mean, people aren't going to like to hear this, but I support the elimination of jihadi terrorist criminals. So I don't really hold it against him. I don't know if you've gotten into this aspect of it, John, but, can we look at this, or are we going to be doing this on Subscribestar and Patreon?
Yeah, so we can show the YouTube audience how deep we go here. So this is the difference between John Cullen Investigates on Crowdsource the Truth and CNN. The difference is on CNN, it's blah, 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 blah. And here we have the actual legal documents. This is the case between Jamal Khashoggi's wife and MBS.
There's something important I want to show you, John.
Sure.
Do you see this?
Case number, CV, yeah?
Yeah. Do you know what that means?
No.
That's a civil action. So how can the President of the United States grant immunity? I mean, everything that they're putting in the news makes it seem like this is a criminal case that the DOJ has granted him immunity for. Really, and again, I'm not a lawyer.
It may just be two parallel things. It may be coincidental.
I don't think so. I think this is an unprecedented bit of shenanigans, because here's what I would say if I was Jamal Khashoggi, Mohammed bin Salman. I would say, first of all, a civil matter in district court in the United States, it just has no jurisdiction over a Saudi Arabian citizen for a crime committed outside, or some act, some tort, whatever it is, outside the United States. I don't even think that this should realistically be allowed to exist in U.S. civil court.
Look at who the plaintiff
is. Look at the plaintiff is the wife, and this
she's a
nonprofit.
She's a Turkish citizen, I believe. And we're going to take a look at the story. In fact, the next slide I have is her organization is Dawn, Democracy, right? Democracy for the something.
Arab world now.
Yeah, there you go. So Dawn publishes the story. They've got their own website. This is her thing, right? This is her website, effectively. And we're going to take a closer look at this when we go to our patron-only hour, because the net of it is, if the President of the United States knows the truth, the truth that I allege, okay? So I allege a certain scenario. I believe Jamal Khashoggi was involved in the planning and funding.
Wait a minute, before we say it, we're on YouTube still. We're going to have to talk about that. on
Of something naughty. Of something naughty. We can say naughty.
John Cullen,
Right, naughty.
patreon.com/I
We can
am
say
John
naughty.
Cullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourced. People be like, let him talk. But none of those people will be around when Crowdsource the Truth 7 and Crowdsource the Truth 8 become Crowdsource the Truth 9. So people who want to hear the details of what we're talking about definitely want to join us there. While we're on YouTube, though, I just want to look briefly at this Dawn thing, because who we are, what we do, who we are.
Hold on. No. I would no. Hold off on that till Patreon. Go to the next slide, because there's other big stories this week that we can talk about on YouTube safely.
Whoa!
And the Dawn thing, we're gonna go there. Yeah, we're gonna go there. We're going deep. So hang on to that. Hold those tabs, and just hop over to the next slide of my deck, because some big things have been happening. I mean, this week. So, for example, President Trump has announced his candidacy for presidency. Right?
Yeah, and then they announced another special counsel to investigate him. This is the brazen criminality I'm talking about.
All right. So he announced his presidency, but at the same time, I'm looking at a story here that I picked up on Breitbart earlier in the week that says Ivanka Trump will stay out of politics.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I remember when Ivanka Trump was at his side. He took her to the meetings. She went to the G20. She went to the this. She went to the that. And I thought, my God, he's grooming her for Trump version 2.0. And he's going to do his 8 years, and then it's either going to be her or, her with Jared as first man. And yeah, absolutely.
I would actually be all right with Ivanka Trump for president. I would love to see the look on Hillary Clinton's face if Ivanka Trump broke the glass ceiling.
Well, and Ivanka and Chelsea were pretty good friends at one point, I believe.
But she's too down with Jared and all, and the Chinese spies with Rupert Murdoch. We can't have Ivanka as president, no.
Set all prejudgment aside. My point is, there was a time when she was highly political, highly engaged, at his side, traveling around the world, meeting everybody. Right? She went to Saudi Arabia to meet MBS. She was there on that first trip. She was at his side. And then she's out. Now, what happened? Why? We don't seem to ask why often enough. Why did she? It's fabulous.
It's like, leave Ivanka here with me.
Yeah. Now, who is that? Who is that?
She's, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Zoom out. What does it say?
I think it's it's the king, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
No. That's not bin Salman.
Abdulaziz.
That's not
King Salman bin Abdul. Yeah, that's him.
That's King Salman.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go with it. He's just happy to be there.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, oh.
All right, let's go to the deck. Let's look at a couple of these hot stories this week, because lots of hot things. Next slide. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, so this is exciting. So, just when you thought that there was no justice in the world for that type of person that's, it seems that Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos has been found guilty and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Now, there's a lot of people who are hoping that she goes to the prison that's on the next slide. So she's been sentenced to 11 years. And this is the prison. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this is a prison in Florida. And this is a really fun place to be an inmate. If you're going to be an inmate, this is kind of where you want to go. And this is in Florida.
Like you're just saving rent to live here.
Well, one of the key inmates there that requested that Elizabeth Holmes come there is the inmate who's on the next slide, and that's somebody who's
Why is she there?
Famous. Well, if you go to the next slide, you'll find that it turns out she's not just there; She's the queen bee already. She's running
Wow.
the joint.
Yeah, she knows
And
how to do that.
right. So she's running the joint and has become friends with a murderer and a woman, like a major like there's some big names in there. Like, this woman
I
who was
thought
a
jail
serial killer.
hates sex traffickers and kills, child
It's a
rapists.
woman's jail. This is a woman's jail, and they think, and she has a British accent, and she's very smart, right? I mean, she's a helicopter pilot, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Hmm.
So
Now,
so they love her in prison.
somebody's just sent me something that I heard something about earlier today. Now, did they agree on this or they wanted to agree on this? This is CBN News saying they agree on a global vaccination passport system. Bali, Indonesia. Bloomberg reported tourism ministries from several countries had backed the use of vaccine passports last year. See, I wonder if this isn't some interpretation. I mean, is this implemented or were they just talking about it? I don't know what CBN News is.
What happens to the great grandma who's 91 years old and doesn't have an iPhone? What is your what is your
Back of the
answer
line,
for this?
Grandma.
Does everybody on Earth have a smartphone?
I think
Because
pretty
all this
close.
app-based mandatory, you have to have it this, you have to have it that. I don't have to have a smartphone. I don't use a smartphone. I see everybody checking their phones. I never check my phone. I don't have a phone to check. I have a laptop, and with the laptop, I can do email, I can do Twitter, but I don't do Facebook, and I don't check my phone. I don't get anything. You're the only one who ever sends me anything, and I use a flip phone, and that's it. So
People
all
can
right.
follow you on
So
Twitter at
there you go. How many people do I have?
_am_ John Cullen. You're at 6,654. Excellent, John. I don't know if I told you, I got kicked off of Twitter for,
Again?
well, this one was pretty interesting. See, Elon Musk is not living up to what he said he would do. He said that he's restored Kathy Griffith. So you make fun of Elon Musk, okay, but none of the things that he said he would do is he actually doing. Yesterday, Jack said nobody knows anything, and I told him, based on evidence I've seen in the public domain, I'm pretty confident Adam Sharp helped you push Evan Williams off the board, regain control, and politically weaponize Twitter. But I don't know for sure. I bet the three of you could answer that. Then we would all at least know something. There's Adam Sharp, B-Rock
And they
Obama.
kicked you off for that? That's what they kicked you off for?
Not only did they kick me off, they did it within minutes. So even with a skeleton crew at Twitter, if you reveal evidence that's likely to prove a conspiracy of criminal intent, they kick you off.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? I think I know what these guys did. And it's not because I guessed. It's because I've been looking
The fact
at a
that you
ton
were
of
able
evidence.
to sum it up in a tweet and
Pretty good.
That tweet got kicked off in less than an hour, that's pretty strong.
The whole account. This was a new, at real Jason Goodman account that I had created.
Yeah.
And by the way, there was a lot of back and forth with Twitter tech support that they said a lot of things that they shouldn't have said in those emails, but it's pretty damn good. But anyway, back to the deck.
I like it. All right. Well, another big story. Nancy Pelosi has said that she is going to step aside finally.
Hammer time?
And I think it is hammer time. I think it's time for her to pay some attention to her husband, who's clearly palling around with some strange folks, as Nancy's been obviously too busy. So Paul Pelosi's been crashing his car into fences and getting beat up by a friend of his. Right? He told the police, it's a friend of mine. It's a friend of mine. So
nice guy.
She's not. Yeah. So she's not going to run for whatever it is that she does over there, and that's a big thing. So now
because she would be the minority leader, right? And she doesn't want to take a pay cut.
If that's the way it works. Okay. So I'm just excited to see her step down. Yes. And this is, by the way, this is part of Building Back Better. So part of Building Back Better is home sales have fell, right? So for ninth
Collapse
straight
the
month, this is
housing
according,
market.
and this is CNBC, right? This isn't even Fox News making fun of it. So when CNBC is telling you that home sales fell for 9 straight months, this is part of the building back better, right? Because if home sales are falling, that means people are happy. That means people are staying home, not selling their house, and they're happy. So that
Oh,
means building back better is working, right? Because nobody's selling their house. If home
uh,
sales keep falling, that means nobody's selling their homes because they're happy.
they like
And
their
if
house.
everybody's happy, then it's working. So build back better means nobody wants to sell their houses anymore. And that's a good thing. That's a
Don't
good
get a
thing.
mortgage is what they could call
That's
it.
a well, you don't want to look at the negative side of everything. The glass isn't always half empty, right? So in this case, let's look at the happy side. Nobody wants to sell their houses. According to the Washington Post, who can't seem to just drop Donald Trump for more than 90 seconds, right? The guy
Yeah.
hasn't been president for 2 years and clearly lives rent free in their mind. It seems that Carrie Lake, who we were talking about in last week's show, who lost to the new improved Katie Hobbs 2.0,
It's
appears
crazy.
to have beaten Carrie Lake,
Has
even
she
though,
conceded?
no, in fact, I think what Carrie Lake has said is Arizonans know BS when they hear it. So she's further digging
Huh.
the I don't call it election denier because I don't think she's denying that there was an election.
It's
I
just the
think she's
results.
denying, right, the counting part of the election. So
Right.
the fact that this story says that she went to Mar-a-Lago to visit, obviously, with former President Trump. Now, he announced his
Ooh.
candidacy this week. What does it say?
It says Carrie Lake refuses to concede in Arizona governor's race. She lost. So what is up?
Yeah,
AP has become just like shit posting. They were trying to get us into World War III, telling us that Russia launched a missile at Ukraine. And then even after Poland and NATO said, wait a minute, that missile originated from Ukraine, Zelensky said, no, attack Russia. Bomb them now.
It's what I can tell you from my experience. And at the time, I had no idea what I was witnessing when I saw it, and it unfolded right in front of me. When I lived in Thailand, I was very close with BBC people and Associated Press people.
Right.
And I had no idea what they were really until after the fact. And now I realize who these guys were. So they're not who they portray themselves to be. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of people who work there who have no idea what's what and think that they work at the Associated Press. And I'm here to tell you that these guys make news as much as they
Meaning
report news.
they make it up or they go and do stuff like this and be like, oh my God, look, a bomb destroyed the building. Who did that?
Yeah, yeah. In other words, how did the camera crew get there as the
Right,
smoke
as
is
it was blowing up. Right.
still coming up from the embers, and the camera crew just happens to arrive with, 12 Pelican cases filled with camera gear, right?
Exactly. Now, John, we've got to break right now because we are making our way over to the sponsor exclusive segment on subscribestar.com/I am John Cullen, patreon.com/I am John Cullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. People can also watch the sponsor exclusive content on Odyssey now. This is exciting. Another platform that people can view Crowdsource the Truth sponsor exclusive content on. If you go over to Odyssey and search for Crowdsource the Truth, we'll be back in just 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, John. Got you covered with a graphic there. But we will be back in 5 minutes with the sponsor exclusive show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you over on the sponsor exclusive channel.